pitchers and catchers arguing, shortstops are going downhill, and there are some amazing performances going on lately in Major League Baseball. All that and more right here on this episode of Closers. What's going on, everybody? We got a jam-packed show today, so I'm not going to waste any more time. Let's bring in the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. 69 himself, the greatest closer in Seattle Mariners history, David Aardsma. DA, what's going on, buddy? How are you today?
Well, now I'm like the sixth greatest closer in Mariners history, whatever
number
it is.
Six in numbers, but number one in my heart.
Yeah, I heard number 6 in the order, number 9 in your heart.
How you doing, pal?
Doing good. I think what we're referring to is was it Anthony Munoz? Anthony? Mm-hmm. Andres Munoz. Either way, Munoz, the great closer of the Seattle Mariners, an absolute stud, and I don't understand how he pitches the way he does. Gets it done. He's like steps towards like first base and then throws. I don't know, but he is absolutely filthy. He passed me in saves in Seattle Mariners history, and it hurts my heart.
That rat bastard. But again,
I'm fine with it because he's no longer on number 6. He's no longer on 69. So I'm still the only pitcher in Major League history with 69. Only 69 saves.
Like I said to start the show, you might be number 6 in Mariners history, but number 1 in our hearts. Do you think that our super fans care about that Munoz guy? No. They love David Aardsma. And I got to say, over the last 5-6 days, because of, Labor Day and everything else, we actually went the longest that we've gone without talking for probably 5 years. It was very strange. So I missed you. I'm glad to see you here, pal.
It was nice. It was nice.
Screw you.
It was good. And I took a break. I wasn't really even replying to anybody. I went to Vegas. I actually, Jason Page, I didn't even contact Jason Page. I told him I'd contact him when we were out there. Didn't. Just kind of we went into our little world, enjoyed our Vegas time, and made it out alive.
Sometimes you just need those kind of weeks, where you're just like, I don't know anybody. I don't want to know you. It's beautiful. It's great. All right, let's get started because there's a couple of guys on the Houston Astros who may not want to know each other anymore. Framber Valdez, the starting pitcher, who's a pretty damn good pitcher, got upset with his catcher, or at least we think, and might have plunked him on purpose. We were looking at this YouTube video earlier from, what was the name of the podcast? Do you remember? Behind the Play, and they had this beautiful video sharing it. So I want to show everybody that video, and we'll get David Aardsma's thoughts.
Framber Valdez might have just intentionally tried to injure his catcher after he allows a grand slam, and this is definitely concerning video. So first, a pitch before, you can see the catcher Cesar Salazar putting the hand up, motioning for Framber to step off. Framber sees that hand up, but he doesn't step off. He sticks with his pitch. He goes against what Salazar says, and the next pitch is a grand slam to Trent Grisham. So now, after he gave up the grand slam to Trent Grisham, this is where things get fascinating. Obviously, they make a call on PitchCom, and the pitch is clearly a cross-up. He throws a 93-mile-per-hour sinker when Salazar definitely was not expecting that. You could see by his reaction. And it's one thing to have a genuine cross-up, but look at Framber right after. He's not looking regretful or remorseful. He's not apologizing to them or saying, my bad. He's just turning around like it was completely intentional. So cross-ups happen. I would understand that, especially if you're frustrated right after giving up a grand slam. But the coincidence it would take to give up a grand slam, then on the next pitch, after you disagreed with your catcher on the pitch selection, the previous at-bat, then you hit him on the cross-up, and you just turn around and walk away. This does not look good for Framber Valdez.
Ards, I mean, the guy made a pretty compelling case. You tell me, what did you see?
Oh, what did I see? I saw one. Let's break it down with the step off, with Cesar Salazar basically telling him step off. That there's a couple things going on. One, Valdez is in the wind up, and that we probably locked him up, and he didn't want to balk, so he ended up throwing the pitch. You can tell the pitch didn't seem like it had the full 100%. Framber Valdez right behind it. It wasn't a good pitch, right down the middle, basically, and just a flat sinker. And that definitely screwed him up. without a doubt. Now, it's his job to step off. It's also Caesar's job to call timeout. Don't just tell him to step off. Call timeout. I don't know in that position how many timeouts they had, how many times they could do that, or like how many times they could step off, all that stuff. There's a lot of other factors.
Yeah.
But the catcher should have told him to like call timeout, or when you're going to make a pitch, make it with full conviction. Go for it. Like the sinker, just it was a sad sinker, 92, I think it was, and he absolutely got every little bit of it. Number two, there is, in my mind, in my opinion, 100% chance he did it on purpose. 100%. So he throws the pitch. Caesar even looked at him like, dude, what happened right here? And Framber did nothing. When you throw a pitch, and the moment you realize you crossed your guy up, you're walking out there, your hands up, you're my bad. I'm so sorry. Like I didn't mean to do. Like you're doing everything you can to connect with your catcher to let him know you didn't do that on purpose. He's doing none of that. Again, he just gave up a grand slam, so he's going to have a whole lot of emotions there. I don't want to just base everything on that. Then after that, he did nothing to address it. He didn't address it when they're walking off the field. He didn't address it in the dugout. And I heard it took them to get to the locker room before anything got addressed. And that's Caesar Salazar going to him and basically saying, dude, what the hell are you doing? What is going on here? And so there are problems there because when they did post-game interviews, they were still fuming about it. And Framber's excuse in the post-game interview was I heard him call curveball. My mind was still on fastball. I just threw fastball. And everybody has different ways to react to it. Don't get me wrong. I don't need him to go, oh, sorry, I'm sorry, my bad. But then what you would have had is after the game, you would have had those post-game interviews where they're like, hey, yes, he came out to me after the inning. He came to me in the dugout. He came to me after the game, apologized for it. Didn't mean to just he was still locked up about that grand slam. We are competitors. Every single man that steps on the field is a competitor. I hate how like, oh, I'm such a competitor. Dude, we're all competitors. You're not on a major league roster unless you're a competitor. But sometimes people get blinded by the moments, and you're so locked up by that moment. And I'm going to even try to give him some credit here, saying he got locked up on the grand slam. Huge moment in the game against the Yankees, a big series, playoff around. Everybody's trying to get in the playoffs, especially these two teams. So I want to give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But then he never went to that next level and apologized after that. Even on this, like this is something to think about. There's no language barrier. They both speak Spanish. So there's no language barrier there. Sometimes like I've had Spanish catchers, I've had Japanese catchers, I've had American catchers. I've had, again, Spanish speaking, like Puerto Rican, Venezuelan, Dominican. I've had everything. And I've had like every single like basically type of baseball player. You find a way to communicate with your guys as much as you can. They have zero issue about communication. So there's so much going on here.
When you find out that it bled into the locker room, there was a little bit of a problem in the locker room afterwards. What are you doing as the organization when you see a guy who potentially is a really crappy teammate? Potentially, we don't know for 100%. But if you do find out that he did that on purpose, are you keeping Valdez even though he's a good pitcher? Because now you're saying, hey, you can be a douche and we'll keep you.
Why is that even? That's not even a question. Yes. That's not even remotely in anybody's mind. Nobody's even on any scale. If I had a 1 to 100 scale, the thing's a minus 100. No one's even thinking about not keeping Framber Valdez. There are moments. There are things that happen, and he might be a bad teammate. But again, we've never heard anything before this. We've never seen anything before this. Things happen. What the real question is how do you address it as a team, right? How do you address it as a front office, as a manager? Like this should be done straight up as the manager. The manager's job is these moments. I immediately get the catcher in the office. I talk to him, and then I get the pitcher in the office, talk to him, and I make it a point that thing's going to be squashed in that office, in that locker room, whatever that is. This should have never gotten to the point of getting it to the media before they've already squashed it, before something has happened. They should have. That game's over. I'm grabbing Caesar. I'm getting him in my office. I'm grabbing the pitcher. I'm going, what the hell happened? You guys handle that right here behind closed doors, so nothing ever happens. Framber Valdez has a long history of being a very, very, very good pitcher. and very successful. We haven't heard anything out there about him being a bad teammate. He might not be a great teammate. You just can't be a bad teammate. So this is a bad teammate moment. But everybody has bad teammate moments. Everybody has a moment, whether you know about it or not, where you're not a good teammate. It's how do you react to that? How do you handle that? Do you go, I screwed up. I was in the moment. I need to handle it. I need to talk to him, whatever it is. But as a manager, that's where you handle it. There is nothing that's going to happen from a front office standpoint at all. And there shouldn't be anything about it because it should be handled by the manager.
Yeah, and that was my thought process too, that it was going to be dealt, in the clubhouse. And actually, that was going to be my next question. Is that the manager's job or is it the team leader's job? How is it? Are there different ways to diffuse this situation? You talked about the manager. He comes in and he says, blah, blah, blah. Is it as simple as Jose Altuve, who's been there a long time, going up to both of them and saying, hey, he's a Spanish-speaking person. He could say, hey, caballeros, what's going on over here? Can we fix this? Or is it another thing where you just you start playing pranks on them and you say, okay, you acted like an asshole, we're going to prank you, and here's the deal, like wrestlers do?
There's no prank, no nothing like that. You're veterans on a team. That's nothing like that. Nothing like that will ever happen. That'll never happen. That's probably never happened in baseball, as far as like when you're a veteran and just a moment like this. This is too big of a moment in too big of a moment. It's a huge moment in a big moment. So this has got to. There are teams where it's manager. There's teams that are, without a doubt, like you said, like a Jose Altuve, but it doesn't have to be a Spanish speaker. It's whoever that leader is at clubhouse. I don't care who it is, whoever that leader is. It doesn't have to at all remotely have to be a Spanish guy. It can a Spanish speaking first player. It can be anybody because it's just a leader. If Jim Thome was in that locker room, it wouldn't be some Spanish guy just because they speak Spanish. It'd be Jim Thome handling it, right? It'd be Paul Konerko handling it if I was with the White Sox when I was there. It doesn't matter who it is. It's the leader. So very easily, this has to get handled behind closed doors. Like the moment that they even got to media and they're already speaking to media, too long. That is part. I think something in this game that has gone missing, and that's why these veteran leaders are those veteran leaders. That's why you used to have these guys. They would have handled it. Like both of them, to me, again, if I'm the manager, I'm immediately grabbing them and getting them in that locker room. I'm probably getting Altuve or whoever that leader is in the clubhouse. I'm getting him in there too. But guys, handle this right now. Whatever you have to say to each other, say it behind closed doors. You don't have to agree. This is the biggest thing. They don't have to be best friends when they walk out that door. They don't even have to agree. They just need to get it off their chest, get it said, and then have a clear message when you're walking out that door. So both guys, the biggest thing you can see out of great teams is a very clear message. And when you have Framber Valdez saying, oh, I heard curveball, I thought fastball, I just threw fastball. And then you heard it from like Salazar basically like kind of giving a little bit of this like still like what the hell moment. You can't have that on good teams. And this is something that we would have never seen out of an Astros team before this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wasn't implying that they had to be Spanish speaking, but you mentioned earlier the communication.
It is important to say though, like some people just assume that like, no, man, it's whoever the leader is that clubhouse has to handle it. Right. And it's probably Altuve.
Right, because he's the elder statesman, and you have to guess that he's going to be more comfortable speaking in his native tongue to his other, Latin players. Notice I said Latin. I'm trying to fix that because I know that
Spanish speaking or Latin. Yes.
All right, there we go. All right, let's move on here. Last week we were talking about catchers and whether or not it's a good idea to get rid of catchers after they have a big year because they get banged up, and a lot of them don't have long careers where they are super hitters. So I did a little bit of research and I looked at catchers with a 300 average and 30 home runs in a season. And it hasn't happened too many times. It's less than 15 players who have done it. And you can see the graphic right there. Mike Piazza did it 9 freaking times where he had 300 average and 30 RBIs. But then you have Johnny Bench who did it 4 times. You have Roy Campanella who did it 4 times. Cal Raleigh has done it 3 times. After that, it's slim pickings. So
Cal Raleigh.
that has had 300 average and 30 home runs in a season.
Cal Raleigh's had a 300 average?
That's the number I have here. Hold on. Or excuse me, or 300 average.
Yeah, because he's not even on the sheet.
No. It's a different list that I'm looking at. Sorry, my mistake. The list over here is just talking about 30 home run seasons.
Oh, but the problem is the list we're seeing is 300 average and 30 home run seasons.
Yes. So this is the original list that I wanted to go on. Alex kind of threw me for a loop on this one because I was looking at a different list. But if you take a look at this list right here, you see Roy Campanella 3 times. Mike Piazza did it a few times. Then you have greats like Mike Lieberthal and Charles Johnson and Javi Lopez. And I'm not trying to put those guys down. They were fine catchers, but they didn't have those, multiple years of being dominant players. And that's what I was talking about last week. If you have a guy like Adley Rutschman, who has shown that he has power, he can hit for average, he's a good defender, but overall, he's not going to do that too many times. Why wouldn't you trade a guy like that when his value is high?
You're trading the captain of the team. This doesn't make sense. This is the dumbest argument ever. We're trading the captain, the only player that plays both sides of the ball besides Shohei Ohtani. Why? It's mind-blowing. This is like trading a great quarterback and saying, well, there's a history of guys not being quarterbacks for long. Well, no crap, because those aren't good. So like having a good season doesn't make you a great player. Having great seasons consecutively, being a captain of a team, being a leader of a pitching staff, constantly doing these things that are invaluable. There are 3, there's like the most important positions of the game. Okay. You got center field, shortstop, pitcher, catcher, the most important positions. Catcher is number 1. So when you have a good one, the hell are you trading them for? This makes no sense. Anytime you have a great catcher, you have great teams. Like it's a consistent thing you see over the history of baseball. Just because you have a 300 season or 30 home runs and that doesn't replicate, doesn't mean that's the beautiful part about this position is that's not who you are. Is that I don't even need 30 home runs. I don't even need 300 average out of the team. I need a captain and somebody who can lead a pitching staff. The average and the home runs are just on top of that. Everything that you bring as a catcher is the opposite of what the argument is here. I don't care if you're Mike Piazza. Everybody said they hated throwing to Mike Piazza because he wasn't a good catcher. He was a first baseman who ended up being a catcher. He wasn't a great backstop. What we're talking here is when you have great backstops who lead pitching staffs, who are nonstop, like the captain of your team, the leader, you don't trade that. That breaks up locker rooms. That ruins teams. And so, like, yes, we had the argument of Adley Rutschman. Great couple of years, right out of the gate, some of the best starts in history. This right where he is right now, I think is a lot more of a sign that you have somebody who you believe is more of a better backstop, a better catcher, and you can move maybe Adley to another position and he be a better baseball player. They might be viewing Adley Rutschman as more of a elite, like a Mike Piazza type that can actually go to first base because they need him to go to first base or another position. And this other dude, they're signing him for 8 years. They believe that he will be the captain, the leader of the staff. So if you have a Cal Raleigh, that is the guy you can't be moving because you shouldn't be, no matter what behind it. Like you look at Salvador Perez, you look at Buster Posey, like these guys created longevity from their teams because like they're so good and they're a captain.
I'm not talking about those kind of guys. I'm talking about the guys who have the huge offensive years, knowing that it's almost impossible.
About trade value, guys.
And I'm talking about the guys who have huge years, like Cal Raleigh, who's got a 50 home run season.
Buster had great huge years.
Pardon?
Buster had huge years.
Yes, he did. But there are outliers. He is an outlier in my argument. But the bottom line is you have a lot of catchers who have had huge years that you can get a lot for, and you can still find that captain of your team. He doesn't need to be a 30 and 100 guy with a 300 batting average. That's my point. I can take the value of Cal Raleigh right now I have a 50 and 100 guy that everybody else in baseball would be licking his chops. And the odds that he's going to replicate this 2 years from now are slim. So let me trade him now. I can bring in a catcher who is that backbone, who is that I'm going to be the guy, I'm the leader, I'm going to hit you 15 home runs.
You already have that.
But I'm going to get a shit ton pieces more when I trade Cal Raleigh, get the extra pieces, and then use that other catcher
every
in place
single
of
extra piece that you're like this on. If they do everything and hit everything is perfect, they're Cal Raleigh.
But I'm not looking
like
for...
You have Cal Raleigh.
Yes, but I'm not looking for that out of my catcher. I want to trade him now that the value's high, bring in another guy. I'll give you a perfect example. We talked about this before the season. If you had traded the top 3 prospects in their farm system and Adley Rutschman, would you have gotten Paul Skeens? Potentially. Now, we don't know, but that is not a bad trade, is it? It's a fair trade?
Top 3 prospects and your catcher? Yes, that's a bad trade.
All right, top 2 prospects or 2 of your top 5 prospects, something like that, and Adley Rutschman for Paul Skeens. Is it an even trade?
That's a pretty hard example when you're trading your captain of your team, like the guy who's running your pitching staff. That's why you don't see catchers getting traded. There's so much more value than them just hitting. The one position you don't see getting traded is a starting catcher. Like, you don't see it, right? You never see starting catchers getting traded. It's like starting quarterbacks in the NFL. You don't see them going anywhere. You see backups becoming starters and doing well and then going because the starter got healthy. That's the only time you ever see like you Sam Darnold like right now, right? Or you see like Cousins kind of jumping around because he's always coming in as like the number 2 guy, and then the starter gets hurt and now he's like a number 1, but he's making so much money nobody wants him type of thing. Anyways, you don't see catchers ever really getting traded. You see them signing and staying with teams forever. Like, this is that one position that when you have it, you never get rid of it. And a guy like Cal Raleigh, yes, you will get the house for him without a doubt. But then you ruin your pitching staff, and you get rid of like a guy who's super productive and had been productive. So and if all those guys are so good, they'll become Cal Raleigh. Like, you already have Cal Raleigh. And he's leading your pitching staff, and everybody loves him, and he's selling tickets, and he's a big dumper. Your job is to sell tickets. This dude is selling tickets constantly. And I get the idea of it's easy to sit back and go, but I'll get value. Yeah, but you're losing so much more when you trade a catcher. I am always up for trading a starting pitcher, trading somebody else, unless they're like the captain, the dude. Everybody else on that team looks at him. You don't ever trade that guy because that's what you trade. That's the Derek Jeter factor. Was he the best shortstop ever? No. Was he the best shortstop any year? No. Was he the best defender? No. Did he have the best arm? No. But what he brought to the table every day was invaluable. You could have gotten a lot more for him in behind the scenes armchair analyst. Yes. But you can never replicate what he brings to the field every day. You can't ever replicate that. That's why you never move a good catcher. You never, ever. These guys never get traded. They get traded in the minors. You never trade them in the big leagues. Like once you trade them and they've established and they're the leader and they're the captain, dude, they never go anywhere.
Well, then you are going to end up with your Gary Sanchez's. Enjoy your Deshaun Watsons who they got rid of when
Gary Sanchez, dude, won the season, and he was a horrible catcher. He wasn't a catcher, and everybody knew that. That's the problem. Is like if we go back in the time machine and think about the Yankee years, everybody was screaming that this dude is not a catcher. He was horrible behind the plate, didn't have a good arm, did not run a pitching staff. Nobody looked at him as a leader, but the Yankees kept putting him at catcher. Nobody wanted him as a catcher, and everybody knew it wasn't right. And that's why Anthony Romine or whoever it was still had a job, because he was actually the captain. He was the dude behind the scenes, like the captain of the pitching staff. Everybody knew Gary Sanchez was a first baseman DH disguised as a catcher. He was Mike Piazza without all the hitting, some hitting. And everybody saw it, and everyone's screaming at it. That's not the guy we're talking about.
Okay.
Adley Rutschman's not Gary Sanchez.
All right, so let me bring up a guy who was on this list. We'll go back to 1999. Mike Lieberthal, okay? Hit 300, 31 home runs, 96 RBIs. Okay? And he hit 20 home runs only once more in his career. He was a two-time All-Star in 1999 and 2000. If you had traded him in 1999, you would have been a better team and you would have found the replacement value catcher. And there's a whole bunch of guys like that in the history of baseball. Take a look at what the Minnesota Twins, when they signed that idiot Joe Mauer. Actually, that's not fair. I'm sure he's a nice guy.
He's Hall of Famer, no matter what we think, and he got better.
Hall of Famer? Hall of Famer? He shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame.
I get that argument. I understand. But the dude actually got better. And again, you're asking to trade a Hall of Famer early on who ended up having a 330 year or whatever with whatever. Trust me, we believe that Joe Mauer's not a Hall of Famer, but that's not how everybody else viewed him, and that's not how Minnesota Twins viewed him, right? Like, he was on a level that was above everybody. You don't move those guys. You don't trade them.
Was he worth the money that they gave him?
Let's not talk about a guy who ended up being in the Hall of Fame. Let's talk about a Mike Lieberthal. These are better arguments for your case.
Okay.
These are much better arguments for your case. And the year you're talking about is 1999. He was already in the big leagues for 5 years, for 4 years, and he hit 300 with 99. The next year, 278, 231. Absolutely. Then 279, 313, 271, 263, 273. Like, he had established who he was. He had one really good year. They could have moved him. I get it. But he was a 15 to 20 home run guy who 1 year had 31. That's not 50. And Mike Lieberthal stayed in Philly for years and through like some of those times when, yes, they weren't the greatest team, but they were actually pretty good.
Could I find another catcher that would get me 15 and 60 and hit me 250?
Yeah.
Very easily in baseball, you can find those.
But again, like, we one argument on one player, I get it, and there's probably plenty more.
There's a ton.
But like, you're also completely invalidating anything he else did as a running a pitching staff. Anything. And like, that's the thing. Catchers don't just do that. They don't just show up. There's a reason these guys aren't getting traded. When you find one that's running a staff and can hit a little bit, there's a reason these guys go nowhere, anywhere. Like, out of every position, these guys get moved the least. And there's a reason. And it's because they're so invaluable when you find one that can do it. So you don't move them, because the next guy in line, you're losing so much more than the 50 home runs.
I get what
you're going to hit, and especially in Safeco, what you're going to get 15 out of your catcher. Okay, let's say Cal Raleigh has the year we all actually thought he was going to year, which is 30.
Yeah,
dude, where the hell else are you going to find that? Just that, and be like the dude.
But if you look at the history of baseball, it is very difficult to replicate what he is doing many times over. Only Mike Piazza has done that.
This is all icing on the cake. They signed for 30 home runs. And they're paying him for 30 home runs.
Great.
And being the leader of a team. But this is all icing on the cake. Awesome. But you can't ever, like, if you went and traded him and the crap you're going to get back and hope they become him, while you have the best pitching staff maybe in their history, 1 through 13, and you're losing the dude who's running that staff. That's why, again, these guys don't get moved. It's an argument that's flawed from the beginning.
Okay.
I'm not even disagreeing that you can get value.
No, you know you can get value. There's no question on that.
We should probably move on.
Well, hold on 1 second. I just want to talk about one more thing.
For the sake of the show, we can continue this for the sake of who's recording the show.
Okay, fair enough. We'll move on. But do me a favor, guys. If you're watching this, please go in the comments and let me know who you think is right, because I cannot believe that Arzma believes the things that he's saying right now.
Well, let's hear what you guys think of catchers and if their value and where they should be traded, and if Cal Raleigh should be traded now. Would they be a better team trading him after the season?
All I'm saying is if right now the Nationals came up to me and said, I'm going to give you Mackenzie Gore, James Wood, and Riley Adams for Cal Raleigh, I'm making that trade.
You're not going to get them.
Okay.
That's a problem. Is like it's easy to say that you're not getting those guys. You're not getting major league talent for that. You're not getting major league players. You're getting prospects. You're not going to get major league Mackenzie Gore, Wood. You're not getting those guys.
Well, then somebody's a moron. If they're not, if you can only get prospects, you're an idiot. And you know who else are idiots? People that don't go to Top Velocity Pro. You want to be a pitcher? You want to be the best player you can be? Then don't be an idiot. Don't hold on to Cal Raleigh. You call David Arzma and you find out how to become the best pitcher you can be.
I got nothing else to say about that. Do that. Do exactly what James said.
All right, moving on over here. I was looking at some numbers the other day, and I didn't realize how some of the mighty have fallen in baseball. We went into this season, and your pick for AL, okay, outside of Ohtani and Judge, we already established this. Your pick for AL MVP was
Gunnar.
I believe I think you said Bobby Witt.
Did I say Bobby Witt?
Yeah, you said
I
Bobby
think
Witt.
I thought you said Bobby. I thought I said Gunnar.
Well, either way,
right? It's like,
and then in the National League, I picked Elly De La Cruz as the possible National League MVP. Man, there have been some disappointments at shortstop this year. What is going on? And who's been the biggest disappointment?
Dude, it's been tough especially when you see it. Now I'm like locked in. Who did I say? You said Ellie. I said Soto for National League MVP. I said Gunnar Henderson. You said Bobby Witt Jr.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I said Spencer Strider for NL Cy Young. Jacob deGrom for NL Cy Young. Logan Gilbert and Zach Wheeler.
Well, Zach Wheeler, I was pretty close.
Hey, Jacob deGrom was killing it.
Yeah,
I did say AL Manager of the Year Aaron Boone and Kobe Mayo.
All right, but let's just go back here for a second, though. Let's go back to the shortstops because it is crazy. Let's start with my guy, with Elly De La Cruz. I remember we were talking during the All-Star break, and we're like, okay, well, we're about 85 games in. If he doubles what he's doing right now, he's going to be a 40-40 guy with 100 RBIs and hit 270. And now you look at it, and he's hit one home run in the last 50 games, something ridiculous like that. He's stuck at 19 home runs, 78 RBIs, and he's made the most errors in all of baseball.
It's bad. It's bad. Like I told you. So my big thing with Elly De La Cruz, and this is why I said he's not going to be an MVP this year, is I still needed a year of him getting better, right? I needed to see another year of him. It's all the talent in the world. I just got to see something like improving. Like he's at 160 strikeouts as a hitter, and his walks haven't really progressed past anything. He's hitting 10 points higher than he was last year. OPS has come down. Home runs we're 6 below, so that we'll see where that ends up on this track. Right now, it's going to be about the same. So we're not seeing a progression. We're not seeing a big step up in Elly De La Cruz, especially on that defensive side. But when we're looking at some of these players, it is remarkable.
One thing on Elly that I want to mention, though, his WAR is still 3.1 because despite the fact that he leads the league in errors, he also has one of the best defensive runs saved in baseball because he makes the most ridiculous out of control plays.
Give me the average play. Right?
The average play he can't make, but the incredible play he does, which is just insane too.
Give me the average play, but I'll say this: from a WAR standpoint, these positions are pretty dang good. From a shortstop, we're not having anybody jumping out. I'm amazed. Corey Seager's leading all shortstops in WAR. That's dang. Where did that come back from? That's awesome. He's slow. That's super under the radar. Bobby Witt's not like having the season we thought he would, but he's also like coming on and doing pretty good, right? It's just what we're seeing with shortstop is that drop in the home runs, drop in that power, like whoa, this dude's having breakout years. We're seeing that kind of back to a regression back to the norm for shortstops. And I think that's jumping like off the table for me, because like even like a, you know, everything I love for a out in Oakland with Wilson, there's no power there, right? There's nothing when you get to that point with him, and so it's to me like it's just the shortstop is kind of like we've seen some of that regression back to okay, like who we are as shortstops. We're really good defending. We're decent power. Nothing's going to blow you away. And we're good average. And we're just a good all-around hitter. And that's kind of like what I'm seeing too. Like a Bo Bichette. In Toronto, a shortstop back in the day, you'd expect 30 home runs every year. He's at 18. You know, he's probably going to end in 22 or something around there. And so like even like Trey Turner is down to 14. And this is a dude like you thought was, you know, we're dude, this is gonna be a 40 home run threat every year when he goes up there. And so we're seeing just a big regression on the power side.
Yeah, who's been the most disappointing to you? If I gave you Gunnar, Bobby Witt, and Ellie, which of those three has been most disappointing?
Gunnar.
Really,
Gunnar
I'd say
to
Ellie.
me, Gunnar because Ellie, the where Ellie's pretty close to exactly who he was last year. I think it was disappointing because of in our head who Ellie was going to be. We all thought this big progression. Like don't forget, like he's improved on average. He's going to be right around home run number. Like he's more RBIs. OPS is
Strikeouts
going
have
to be right
dropped.
around. Like a lot of those numbers are about the same. It's just he didn't jump. Like where we saw Bobby and Gunnar is almost like a regression a little bit back to probably who they really are.
See, I would agree with you if it wasn't for the fact that Ellie was on pace to have a great year, and then all of a sudden,
I'll give you
in
that.
the month of August, he just the errors just went through the roof, and he didn't hit a home run in the month of August.
That is kind of crazy. I will give you that.
He only hit one in July.
But I guess I was viewing this more of like the beginning of the season, who like before season, who we would thought they were. I thought we would all expect Ellie to be making this next jump up, hitting 30 plus home runs and maybe average, but like I told you, like the big thing for me was strikeouts.
Yeah,
where the strikeouts going to once the strikeouts decrease, you're going to see this player just come through the freaking roof. Like,
but that's the funny thing. His strikeouts did decrease.
Well, then they came back, right?
And then they came back. So you're wondering what the hell did they, number one, what did they do to him is, and I know the hitting coach gets a lot of grief when he usually doesn't deserve it a lot of times in most cases. But if there's something going on over here, if the strikeouts came back up, the home runs have dropped, and the errors, there's something going on in this man's head. Now,
yeah, it's something going on without a doubt, and he's got to be able to break it out, and they got to find out a way to communicate that to him too. Because what's even worse is this team was right in the hunt for that last playoff spot, and now they're very much on the outside looking in. 5 games back with a month to play, less than a month to play, and 3-7 in their last 10. Like you're on that outside looking in. It's just the only thing saving them right now is like the Mets haven't been all that great. They're playing decent. But the Padres have sucked. The Cubs haven't really been all that great. Like they're not going to catch the Cubs. It's just now you got to catch the Giants and the Mets.
Yep. And then you look at the guy that you thought was most disappointing, Gunnar Henderson. I was expecting this guy to be 35 to 40 every year with a 280 and 100 RBIs. And you look at his numbers and he's got, 26 and 61. That is not what I expect. 278 is just fine. Now, I know he started the season with that oblique problem that does zap your power a lot, but I expected him to come back and be better than this in the second half. I was expecting that the Orioles would have a great second half and they'd be led by Gunnar, and that hasn't been the case.
And that's a big thing for me. Like for me, that it was just like 37 home runs last year, 16 this year, 80 walks last year, 51. Like you're seeing numbers that are like you're not quite getting there yet. Like he's down 30 RBIs. His average is about the same. His OPS is down 100 points. So like you're just seeing I saw a step back where you're usually seeing this is that year where you really step forward. Or last year was his third year in the big leagues. This is that fourth year. Like you should be seeing that progression, that maturing of him, even getting better. And I know you obviously had those little injuries, and so you're just seeing a step back on a guy that I thought you were just going to see him explode. But again, you saw that kind of happen with that entire Baltimore lineup, that everybody took a regression back almost.
Yeah. And then, of course,
Cedric.
Yeah. And then, of course, Bobby Witt Jr., who's having a pretty damn good year. It's not like he's having a bad year. He's still hitting 295, 20 home runs. He's got his 34 stolen bases. But, I was expecting 325, 40. Now, I know that's a lot to ask out of anybody because it doesn't happen every day. But if anybody should have done it, it should be Bobby Witt. He might be the best all-around player in baseball.
Well, same thing. He's 30 RBIs lower than what he was. He's 12 home runs lower than what he was. He's almost at his doubles mark, but you're seeing that step back, like a 330 year and now 295. Again, that's incredible. Still a great year in itself, but you're seeing 120 point less in OPS. You saw maybe the thing about it was we might have saw the best we'll ever see of Bobby Witt last year. And then we're going to be constantly comparing it to that. It's kind of like the Vladdy effect. You saw Vladdy maybe his best year ever, and you assume that's where we're going up from there instead of going, hey, this is an incredible year, but we can't expect this out of a Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt carried that team offensively almost all year last year. We can't expect that every year. So, but if we're getting our shortstop to hit almost 300 with an 850 OPS, we have to be pretty happy with that. But I think as a fandom, we're sitting back and going, okay, is that who Bobby Witt is, or is he a 330 with almost 1,000 OPS? Or is he in between, or is he even a little less than that? So we're just trying to figure out with some of these young guys. Again, this is his fourth year too. Gunner's in his fifth year. Fourth year, we're trying to figure out who these guys are. And so for me, that's why Ellie is still that bigger step back for me, because he wasn't doing these numbers. He wasn't Bobby Witt numbers. He wasn't Gunnar Henderson numbers. We thought this year was going to be that year for him. Exactly what we saw out of Gunnar and Bobby Witt. We're cool. We're seeing that step up. And then we've seen him just still be the same dude. And we're you can't be the best baseball player in the world if you're putting up the same numbers as you did last year. When you were good, we need to see great out of you, because we've seen the flash of great. We need to see the great season and then sustain that year.
Okay, 2 quick questions. Number 1, out of these 3, who's going to bounce back the best next year and get back to what we expect? And number 2, out of these 3, I own baseball cards, expensive ones for each of them. Which one of them do I sell now?
I'm going to sell. I'm selling Gunner.
Okay.
I'm selling Gunner because I just Bobby. We're seeing Bobby Witt's low. I'm okay. My thing is I want to say sell Ellie. I want to say it. But the problem is you see those flashes of just special, because if
he's got every skill.
It's you're selling. Gunner and Bobby are still not that bad. They're still pretty damn good right now. Even they're bad, which we're seeing, is still good. Any team will take. The Yankees would be the best team in baseball if they had any 3 of these guys. But
can you imagine if they had Bobby Witt Jr. in that lineup?
What?
Can you imagine if the Yankees had Bobby Witt Jr. in that lineup?
Any of these guys. Ellie in this lineup. And it wouldn't change anything on errors or strikeouts. And then everything else would go through the roof. It would be insane. You'd have the same team. It's just when a ball goes into left field, he's throwing them out at first base. I would take, again, Bobby Witt, you know exactly who he's going to be. I think we have a better idea of Bobby Witt. Gunnar Henderson, I feel, is more dependent on the team right now. But Ellie, you just see the flashes. So in all reality, I would probably if you want to hedge your bet, I would sell Ellie, because it's all right, we're just fingers crossed on Ellie. Gunnar probably has less of a ceiling as Bobby right now, but the best ceiling out of all of them is Ellie.
Yeah. Last question in regards to this topic. Have you ever been in a situation, being with all those teams, where you saw a young superstar who was just amazing and then struggled early in their career, like around this time in their fourth year? And how did they handle it? Do you remember any position like that?
I'm sure there were guys. I definitely saw players at times like Manny Ramirez was really struggling when we were with the Red Sox in '08. Again, much way different spot in his career. I mean, he was like 10 years into his career, like 12, 13 years into his career.
He was a Hall of Famer at that point.
He was priority a Hall of Famer, you know, as far as the numbers and like just whatever. He just screwed that up. You know, the best players you see are the ones that go back to basics, that have a core of who they are, especially hitters. Like, all right, where do you want your feet? What are your timing? What's your timing? What's your timing? Like, go back to just a core basic. What did you tell yourself in Little League? See ball, hit ball, wait, like see this zone, hit that zone. Don't try to overthink it, and then let the things happen. And especially as a pitcher too, let's go back to a basic. Like, who are you? How do you get guys out? Like, stop overthinking everything, and then you start building up. That's why I generally see how the best hitters is they go back to just the core. Where do they want their feet? Where do they want their hands? And just boom, the see ball, hit ball, and then you slowly back integrate into the more complex ideas.
It's amazing how much can change in 3 months, because 3 months ago when we were talking, we thought Elly De La Cruz was going to win the MVP, or at least he had a real shot at it if he continued this. And we kept saying, damn, Juan Soto, what a terrible year. Well, things change a lot. Has anybody in baseball noticed what Juan Soto has done? And I haven't heard the words MVP yet for Juan Soto, and nor do I expect it to happen. But boy, somebody better take a look at those numbers, because he is MVP level right now.
Absolutely MVP level. This is insane. I want to make sure I pull this up and I get it right. So there's I don't want to get this wrong. So right now, here are the numbers. It's not going to crazy jump off the table for you, but 259 average, 524 slugging. This dude is absolutely raking, right? So when we will get down to it, he might have one of the greatest all-around seasons in Major League history. He has a chance to have 40 home runs, 30 stolen bases, 100 walks, 100 RBIs, and 100 runs scored. Only 2 players in Major League Baseball have ever reached all 5 of those. Bonds did it a couple times.
Who's that? Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. So there's something here that is absolutely jumping off the table as far as historical years and what they might be able to be capable of. The big thing for me, and the reason you're not hearing any of this, is how we started the year, right? And so we're not like, when you talk about MVPs, you're talking about stuff. It's momentum. It's how do you start the year? Do you continue that? Like Aaron Judge started the year so freaking hot. And like it doesn't matter like really what almost anybody does, even if you're breaking records as a catcher, everyone still views you as the MVP favorite, right? Or Ohtani, who just basically is just insane. But this is starting to become incredible. There is one factor though that goes into this that has been bothering people, and this is probably as a Mets fan what drives you crazy. Runners in scoring position, he has been abysmal. Especially compared to last year. I don't want to say abysmal in general, but abysmal compared to last year. I think he's like 200 or something points lower in his average with runners in scoring position, which is a huge stat for me. That is one of those big stats. It's like, as far as a relief pitcher, how many runners do you strand when you come into games, right? Left on base.
Inherited
how many runners do you leave left on base, especially in runners in scoring position? What are your averages? I don't care if you hit 100, but if you're hitting 500 with runners in scoring position, you're a stud. You're amazing. Like, you're getting it done when it matters the most, and that's where he's been struggling. So that's a big factor. And I'm sure as a Met fan, you've noticed.
Listen, they've been calling him Juan Solo in New York most of the season, because every time he did something, it was a solo home run. I mean, couldn't do anything. But now, and that's one of the things that drives me nuts about baseball. You mentioned it. It's all about momentum. And, everybody gets super excited at the beginning of the season, and the first 30 games mean everything as far as all-star voting, as far as MVP, and you can come back, but you have to have one hell of a season like Cal Raleigh in order to do that. But it's funny when the Mets signed Juan Soto. A lot of people were like, well, he's not going to hit 40 home runs again because that's not who he is. Well, guess what? That's maybe who he has become. He is a 100 RBI guy, although RBIs, I think, is the worst stat in baseball because you can't really, you can't decide who's going to be on base in front of you. Somebody has to get the job done. Not a big average guy, but it has a big OPS, which, again, I hate the fact that average has gone to the wayside. However, he's just been incredible, and they've got to figure out a way to promote this guy a little more now towards the end of the season by Major League Baseball.
Major League Baseball and the Mets especially need to be pushing it that this guy should be an MVP candidate. And I will say this, this is bad that they're not pushing it as much as there is, but at the same time, it's okay. Just let him just keep doing his thing. I don't think anybody's going to be able to, over top like Ohtani and what he's done over the course of the year. But to still have Pete Crow Armstrong have better odds than Juan Soto is absolutely asinine. Asinine. Like Pete Crow Armstrong hasn't done anything in the last month. Mm-hmm. Like literally anything. And like Machado's had a fine year. Kyle Schwarber's had an incredible year. So I love that he's getting as much love as he is. But Soto needs to be on this list. And I don't think the odds are fully representing how good of a year Soto's having. And you will see Soto I bet you see Soto getting a lot of second place votes. I just think sometimes it's maybe that average is so much lower and that runners in scoring position. If he goes into like the next month, okay, so Fox Sports have Soto number 3 now as MVP odds. ESPN still has him off the list. But if you see him in this last month with runners on and just getting RBIs and just getting those runs in, I don't even care RBI, you call it whatever it is, just scoring those runs or being the dude when it matters, that's what you're seeing. I think that's what we always see out of MVPs is those big moments when it matters the most. Juan Soto will find his moments. Moments always find Juan Soto, so that'll be just fine. It's just we need to see that RBI, that double, that like getting somebody in when it matters in that close game. If he does that in a couple games in a row, let's say here in September, he gets a couple of those game-winning base hits with guys on base, double in the gap that scores somebody from first, and they're winning those games, he will jump up big time. And there'll be immediately a conversation at the end of the year about him and Ohtani. But if he doesn't, it'll be exactly where it is. And he still might have one of the best seasons ever.
Another guy who has had a season that hasn't been appreciated by many, except for the local fans, is a guy who has had a little bit of controversy in his career, but boy, is he pitching really well right now. And that's Aroldis Chapman up in Boston. Have you looked at his numbers lately?
Oh, it's absolutely insane. This dude is pitching lights out. We haven't seen anything like this in a long time. I remember like watching Bobby Jenks back in the day, like back in like that 07, 08 time when he was just like unheard of. This guy has not given up a run. Okay. He's not given up a run since July 23rd. That's crazy. That was also the last time he gave up a hit. July 23rd.
He's thrown a no-hitter for the month.
He absolutely did. He threw a no-hitter for the month. 11 innings as a reliever coming out of the game, 12 appearances, 11 innings, 14 strikeouts. He's given up one batter who's gotten on base and a walk in this last month, right? Since July 27th, he's given up one walk. These are just insane numbers. These are absolutely absurd. How is this guy at this age getting better? He's 37 and this might be without a doubt probably is like his best season of his career.
You remember before the season very few people wanted him?
Dude, I don't understand that stuff. Like, how would you not have wanted him? Like, his probably the worst thing that he did was not pitching in a playoff run last year with Pittsburgh. Nobody, like, he didn't have like that big oomph behind him. But Boston absolutely hit gold with him. He has a 1 ERA on the year, 54 innings pitched. He is absolutely shoving it up everybody. 77 strikeouts. Like, Like, it is insane. Guys are hitting 115 off of him. That's the
And
lowest of his career.
what's shocking me the most is the fact that he's still in Boston because he's a rental player. They signed him for 1 year, and you thought at the trade deadline when everybody was going after relievers that they would want to go after a guy like Aroldis Chapman. The thing that drives me nuts about trading for relievers is everybody wants to get the flavor of the month or the guy who's been good for this year. And as we know, relievers are the most fickle thing in the planet. So when you have a guy like Aroldis Chapman who has done it for so long and you wouldn't have had to give it up much to get it, you know that he can pitch almost anywhere. Freaking trade for this guy. Why didn't the Mets trade for him instead of Helsley?
That's why, like, Craig Breslow, that's why you got to give him credit. Like, for all the crap people have given Craig Breslow in Boston and all the hard time about like the Devers deal and every single thing they've done in Boston, the fact that he stuck with them, the fact that they didn't sell out during the trade deadline, he traded the best player in the entire trade deadline. He traded him away from his team, the best numbers player, and their team got better. That's what's amazing about what Breslow's done up in Boston, and that, like, he deserves a lot more credit than what he's deserved. Like, he's kept his team together. He's brought up his prospects, unlike Baltimore. He's found positions for his prospects, unlike Baltimore. And their team is getting better with their prospects, unlike Baltimore. And so he got so much grief for all of the moves, for every single move he's made. And there's a lot of baseball to be played. But this team has gotten better. They amazing signs in the offseason. They've had big time injuries, huge injuries throughout the year, and they just keep rolling and winning more baseball games. And you got to give them credit. And Aroldis Chapman, I'm sorry, but that was like the GM sign of the year, and probably the GM move of the year is just keeping him.
I'd like to disagree with you.
With what?
Okay, go with me on this. I don't think it's Breslow that kept Chapman in Boston, because everything that I heard, and I don't know anything, I'm just saying from all the reports that I've heard and everything else, all I heard was Breslow was trying to get rid of those rental players, and it was actually Cora who was the one who was saying, no, we can still win, let's keep these guys. I got a feeling that Cora had a hand in this in keeping him, because I think Breslow would have traded him.
I'm gonna go completely opposite with that. I'm not saying you're wrong. What I believe exactly what happened, and this is to me perfect Boston media, exactly how they wanted to play this out, is create a little fight dynamic between the manager and the GM, blame the GM, and because the GM, like at the beginning of the year, they did not like Breslow, anything he did in the offseason. They didn't like any of the signings he made. They didn't like the fact that they were probably bitching and moaning that he signed Chapman in the first place. And they didn't like how he was hiring process. They were trying to get rid of Breslow, so they can't give him a win. So you know what? They created a shift where it had to be Alex Cora. Breslow would have never kept him unless it was for Alex Cora. But Breslow wasn't getting rid of anybody else. Breslow didn't move anybody. Breslow wasn't clearing house on anybody. He traded one player, really. I mean, in all reality, one player, his best player. And everybody was bitching and moaning, saying their season's done, everything's over. But we've talked about this, and I've been trying to scream this to everybody. It's about the clubhouse. They lost on the stat line and gained in the clubhouse so much that they became a better team.
And it certainly helps when you have probably the top 5 clubhouse manager in baseball in Alex Cora.
Without a doubt. And then that's the beautiful part about this. Like, I don't think I want to give Breslow credit a whole lot more than the Boston media. That's what I want to do. Yeah. And I think that was them trying to downplay him and trying to give somebody else credit for what Breslow. Trust me, I guarantee you they went back and forth. Like, where do we go? Because they were right in that in between spot. We were all talking about this. What do they do?
There were no man's land.
But I said, like, I believed in this team. I was one of the ones on there. Like, I believe in this team. If you're going to get rid of those guys, get rid of them. That's fine. But don't sell the core. Don't sell the team. Don't sell out yet, because they made good moves and they're playing great baseball. I still think they need more on the pitching staff to really make any dent in the playoffs, but they have it right now, and they're making a run.
Well, Buehler was terrible, and that really hurt them signing Walker Buehler because he was not a good pick. I personally think that the media in Boston has it in for Craig Breslow because he's a Yale guy. And you know that Yale versus Harvard thing, that Boston versus Connecticut thing pisses those people off up there. So you know what? Go Team Yale in some cases.
Yes.
All right. Let's move on to your favorite, my favorite segment of all time, and this is going to be our last one for the teams. There's still going to be a few more Mount Rushmores. We're going to do some more stuff. First baseman, all time, et cetera, et cetera. But now we're going to go to your Washington Nationals / Expos Mount Rushmore. Oh, that's a pretty graphic. I like that one. What do you think?
I always love the graphics. Graphics are always perfect. Alex does such a great job of it.
And they all have better hair than I do. David, who do you have as your number one player on Mount Rushmore?
Not number one, just the first player on there. Not like these are not order.
When I saw this player, he's number one in my heart. So forgive me. Number one on the list.
Number one on the list. Understandably so, why it's in your heart. Remember the rules here. Can't be on other lists. So a lot of people bitch and moan about certain players. But Gary Carter.
Gary Carter, my guy, Gary Carter. Yes, he is on the list. He is more of an Expo. He went into the Hall of Fame wearing the Expos hat, but I don't give a damn. He's a Met in my heart. But Gary Carter, the guy they called the kid before Griffey, what a great player and a gem of a human being. Look at this. I got to meet him when he wrote this book, and he wrote this inscription on my book. He's the nicest guy. I love that man. God rest your soul, Gary Carter.
Gary Carter, 11-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glover, 2-time All-Star MVP, 86 World Series champion, obviously with your Mets there, 5-time Silver Slugger Clemente Award winner. As an Expo, hit 270 with a 454, 220 home runs, 823 RBIs, 274 doubles, bunch of triples, 7 times, 3-time Gold Glover, 2-time Silver Slugger, a runner-up in the NL MVP voting in 1980 as an Expo. Again, Expos didn't have a long run, but then we're also including Nationals here. And are we including? No, we're not. We didn't include Senators or anything like that, right?
No. This is your list, so you didn't include any Senators on there. But man, Gary Carter. I cannot tell you. He was my favorite player growing up. When I had my baseball card in Ty Cobb baseball, on the back it says, "Who's your favorite player?" It was Gary Carter. And I'm convinced that Shea Stadium would have lowered into the depths of hell, literally would have sunk into hell with that group if it wasn't for the divine Gary Carter, who was probably the most religious person in the history of baseball. But what a sweet man.
I'm pretty sure that group did go into hell with the stories I've heard.
I can't wait till Lenny
gets a lot of fun.
I can't wait till Dykstra's in hell. He should be there already. Die, Lenny. Die. Up next, who do you got?
Okay, next, guy that was right on exactly what we were talking about with those 86 Mets teams, Tim Rock Raines.
Now, why do you think they called him Rock? Could it be because he had some coke in his back pocket that fell out? Could it have been that possibly some of that powder turned into rocks? I have no idea. I'm not going to speculate. But Tim Raines, we've spoken to him. Very, very nice guy. Great ball player. Should have been in the Hall of Fame sooner than he was. Tell me a little bit more about Tim Raines.
Obviously, Hall of Famer, 7-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, All-Star MVP, 2-time World Series champion, won a batting title as well. One of the greatest. He was just an absolute stud in the net. Like, he was a stud forever. He played 1,400 games for the Montreal Expos, hit 300. 437, 459 extra base hits, 556 RBIs. He has a franchise record, 635 stolen bases. Represented the Expos in 7 straight All-Star games. led the league in steals 4 times, swiped 70 bases, 6 consecutive seasons. I mean, it's just like, it's incredible. Finished top 10 in MVP voting 3 times. He got the name Tim Rock Reigns because without a doubt, he had some cocaine in his pocket. Was part of the, I think he was part of the cocaine trials, right?
That I don't know.
The Pittsburgh cocaine trials. That's going to hurt your chances to get into Cooperstown. When I was with the Blue Jays, he was there. What?
All I know is cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yes, and then so like he was there with the Blue Jays when I was with the Blue Jays. He was awesome to work with. Loved everything about him.
Yeah,
hell of a player.
Good dude. All right, the next guy on your list here.
Next guy on my list, one of my heroes growing up. I was a giant Cubs fan.
What? I was about to say that when I think about the Cubs, the first 2 faces that pop into my head are always this guy and Ryan Sandberg. And it's crazy that he's on this list, but I understand why he's here. Andre Dawson.
Yes, Andre Dawson should be on this list, should be in the Hall of Fame as a Cub. And that actually bothered me a lot. And I think it bothered him a lot too. He should be a Cub in the Hall of Fame. He is not a Cub in the Hall of Fame. He was MVP, 8-time All-Star, 8-time Gold Glover, Rookie of the Year, Home Run Derby champ, 4-time Silver Slugger. But of course, that's kind of over his career. Won the MVP with the Cubs back in '87. Just the hell of a year, 49 home runs. There's not much this guy couldn't do. Had a hell of an arm in the outfield. His knees gave out at some point, so he couldn't really run. But before that, he could really do everything. Him and Gary Carter together with Rock Reigns was absolutely incredible. Like 3 Hall of Famers in one lineup is absolutely amazing. Hit 282, 19 home runs and 26 RBIs in his first year to win Rookie of the Year. 1,400 games as an Expo. Hit 280, 225 home runs, 838 RBIs, bunch of All-Star games, obviously 3 All-Star games, 6 Gold Glovers, 3 Silver Sluggers, with Montreal. Again, for me, he was a great player with Montreal. He became a Hall of Famer with the Cubs, and that's where it kind of bothered me. He played, obviously more time with Montreal, less time with the Cubs, but maybe I'm partial to it. I felt like without the Cubs years, he wasn't a Hall of Famer, and he had that jump in his career, right? Like he had that next step up with that MVP year as a Cub. I have a hard time not being a Cub.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. And I'm not a Cubs fan. It's just, maybe it's because of the years that we grew up and our formative baseball years, he was a Cub, but I understand the reason.
Yeah, I mean, again, that really could be it too.
Yeah. Up next is the first guy who's going to be here on as a national, and that is the man with the crazy eyes, Max Scherzer.
Mad Max, 3-time Cy Young winner, 2-time World Series champion, 8-time All-Star. This dude is going to be a Hall of Famer. It's just a matter of who is he going to be a Hall of Famer with?
And I'm convinced the owner of the best contract for a pitcher in baseball history. They got every nickel of what they paid for him.
Yeah, probably. Without a doubt. Max Scherzer is going to be a very interesting one when it comes to the Hall of Fame. He probably became a Hall of Famer with the Nationals, but he had a couple of those great years with Detroit. I mean, almost every year with the Nationals, he was an All-Star. It was Cy Young, back-to-back Cy Young 2, Cy Young 3. After that, he could have won 3 Cy Youngs in a row. In all reality, he could have won, he was Cy Young 1, Cy Young 5, Cy Young 5, Cy Young 1, Cy Young 1, Cy Young 2, Cy Young 3. He could have won 7 in a row. And I don't think anybody would have complained. Maybe one of those years when he was Cy Young 5, he was 14 and 12. But all the other peripheral numbers were insane. Still a 2-something ERA. He could have arguably won 7 in a row. And when you're talking about a run, and Like, that's amazing. But he continued it and continued really good success later on. And it's like, now we're at 40. We're not seeing the same dude, but he's still able to pitch. And like, he still had a 3 ERA last year, ERA in the threes last year. So like, we're still seeing a very competitive pitcher. We're just seeing probably the end of it when we get to this as a national. 189 starts, 92 wins, 2.8 ERA as a starter in this day and age is just insane. 0.96 whip. He struck out 1,600 hitters as a Nat in 1,200 innings, 11 CGs, couple of no-hitters, 2 no-hitters. And so, like, he represented Nationals in 6 All-Star games, back-to-back Cy Youngs, like we talked about.
He is the Billy Wagner of starting pitchers. He may not have the numbers that added up that you would be like, okay, automatic Hall of Famer. But then when you look at the peripheral numbers, he's so good in everything that there's no doubt he should be a Hall of Famer. But of course, when did it all go to shit for Max Scherzer? As soon as he signed with the Mets. You son of a... Anyway. All right.
He had a 2.2 ERA with the Mets.
Yeah, but it fell apart in the end when we needed him.
He had a 2.2 when he was first there, and then the next year just was not. Him and Big V together just did not turn out the way you guys wanted.
We had a 10-game lead on the Braves. Just saying, 10-game lead with just one more Scherzer win would have done it. All right, let's move on to the guys who were just on the outside looking in, and there's somebody missing on your list, and we'll get to that in a second. But who are your guys on the outside looking in?
3 guys on the outside looking in. I got to give love to Steve Rogers.
Captain America.
BPA. I got to give some love to him as well. Want to make sure I'm not missing this one here. Played his entire career in Montreal. 158 wins, 152 losses. Very, 3.1 ERA. Just played in that generation where you just took the ball and you just pitched your butt off. And you did 129 complete games.
Was that
129 complete games? Like, we were giving Max Scherzer credit for 11. 129 CGs. The dude almost threw 3,000 innings as a Expo. Got to give some love to Vladdy. That's where it all started. That's where he was just incredible while he was an Expo. Obviously, like,
Vladdy,
I don't know what he went in as. Did he go in as an Expo?
Yes, I'm almost positive.
It's just like, he had great years. He just wasn't there long enough to make the list against some of these guys, against like Tim Raines or some of these guys. He just wasn't there long enough. And a guy that doesn't get mentioned much, doesn't get brought up in big conversations, but you kind of forget how much of a stud he was for a period of time, was Ryan Zimmerman. This guy's core to the Nationals turnaround and who they were. Core piece in there. Third baseman that you just, like, God, every time you saw him step the plate, you're, dang it, like. But you also, as a fan, wished for a little bit more longevity out of him, a little bit more of a career. Like, in a lot of ways, it mimicked your boy over there in New York at third base, right, where you're just like, dude, like, just wanted a little bit more. But Ryan Zimmerman was more just regular injuries. And it just wasn't quite, the ceiling wasn't as high as David Wright. But
I look at Zimmerman, and you know me, I love comparing guys. I look at Zimmerman, and I automatically put him in the same category as David Wright and Evan Longoria. To me, those were the third basemen of that generation, and they were all so similar. May not have had the numbers, but they were so important to their franchises getting to that respectability.
Yeah. And again, like, just like to mention, like, Strasburg, what he did while he was there, and maybe even Rendon and our boy Harper just wasn't there long enough to be on these lists.
That's the guy that I wanted to ask you about, was Harper. Because he was there considerable while, and he's going to be, I think his numbers are going to be better as a National than they are as a Philly. So I would almost put him in that, but who are you going to take out? That's the problem.
That's to me. And I think, like, Harper was there, and don't get me wrong, I'm not taking anything away from what Harper did. And but I wouldn't take him out for anybody on the list. And I mean, again, he'd be on the next guy up. Like, he'd be right there with Zimmerman, even better than Zimmerman probably. But Zimmerman over his career as a National had more WAR, probably had more like he had that longevity there. But
And he
again,
was
like,
the face of that fledgling
yeah.
so I understand the reason why you're saying that.
But again, and Harper, like let's not forget MVP, and he was Rookie of the Year, and like everything he brought fun back to baseball and all this stuff. But like he's not meeting Max, he's not beating the Hawk, like Tim Raines and Gary Carter. He just needed more years than that. Give him 3 more years than that, and he's on the list.
And finally, because we need to wrap up this show, who are the guys that are on the team right now that could make this list?
When I made the list at the beginning of the year was CJ Abrams, Dylan Cruz, throwing that just completely out the window. James Wood.
And potentially Mackenzie Gore. He's that good. I like him.
Like James Wood, Mackenzie Gore, but CJ Abrams and Dylan Cruz could still very much. You've got 4 dudes, which is so cool. That were, I think, all Padres, but you have 4 guys that are legitimately could make this list and could change this franchise forever. Let's just see them progress and see the team around them progress. They can't just do it by themselves. The Nationals need to put some money into this team and get dudes around them to let them be great. Because, like, as we've seen, veterans make young players even better. Don't forget that.
And somebody send some veterans to Baltimore, please. And with that being said, I'm James. He's David. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.